Domo domo, what is up everybody? This is official Jujutsu Kaisen translator Steady here. Always at the ready here for you guys. Today, I wanted to kind of switch things up a little bit. We are going to be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen, but I wanted to talk theories, especially with the recent events in the Shibuya arc. If you're not caught up on that, I don't know what you're doing watching this video, but we're going to be kind of going into deep discussion about what my theories are. Translator Theories series starts today. So I am joined by Gojo Sensei and Itadori, as well as the recently released volumes 8 and 9. I will have a video kind of taking a look into what those two have to offer as well, so keep an eye on that. Subscribe so you know when that is up. I also invite you to grab a drink. I got a little bit of Coke and Lime and a little bit of something else, if you know what I'm talking about. And this video series, the Translator Theories series, is going to be very much kind of a back and forth. This is really just kind of my opinion and what I think is going on. I invite you guys to let your voice be known, and maybe we can get a little bit of a back and forth going. So as you all know, the recent chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen, the Shibuya arc, we've been treated to a lot of twists and turns, a lot of big reveals. New characters being introduced, and specifically the most recent chapters, chapters 89, 90, really have just flipped the story right on its head. But today we are going to be discussing the big reveal that Geto is not Geto. If you read chapter 90, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The big reveal where he takes the string, the stitches, and then he reveals that he is no longer Geto. There's something or someone in there that has taken over Geto's body. Now, I had kind of talked about this a little bit in a Twitter post I had before, that of course the stitches on his head were very suspicious. In the flashbacks he doesn't have it, but then in the present day he does have it. So obviously something happened in between volume 0, the prequel volume, and what's going on now. Now, we can't be exactly sure what's going on, but kind of doing my research, I think I know who the identity is. And I've got one name for you. Noritoshi Kamo. No. Not that Noritoshi Kamo. I'm talking about this Noritoshi Kamo. So in chapter 60, there was a 2-page spread during the Yasuhachi Bridge arc. If you guys remember the Tokyo first years fighting against the cursed wombs, the death paintings. There was a 2-page spread that at the time didn't seem as significant, but kind of looking back on it now, it might have been a couple of the most important pages in the series so far, and we didn't know it until now. So yes, my theory is that Noritoshi Kamo is what is taking over Geto's body right now. So a little bit of a little refresher on what Noritoshi Kamo is all about. In chapter 60, they explain that, let me take a few moments here to just kind of read this out. So there's a woman in the beginning of the Meiji era. There was a girl with special genetic makeup who bore a cursed spirit child. A child born of mixed blood, both cursed spirit and human. Now this is important. So this, it seems like this is a kind of a rarity, if not the only case in kind of the Jujutsu sorcery world, where a child was actually born with both cursed spirit and human blood, a half, if you will, kind of like myself. I'm half Japanese, half American, but anyways. They go on to explain that it was a mysterious pregnancy. She would be ostracized by family and friends. So obviously this kind of was she was treated kind of like as a heretic. She would hold the corpse of the child and flee to a temple in the mountains. So she was ostracized. She ran away with this child that apparently had died. That temple was run by Jujutsu sorcerers. However, her luck had run out. Now this is where we're introduced to this man, Noritoshi Kamo. Along with many Jujutsu cultural artifacts, he would be remembered as the most evil sorcerer in Jujutsu history. A stain on the big three Jujutsu families. Now, it's kind of a brief introduction. However, we are told a couple of interesting pieces of information that at the time kind of maybe stuck in our head a little bit, but we didn't really think twice about it. But they go on to explain that this child born from a cursed spirit and human would become a prisoner of intellectual curiosity. So it's kind of suggested that Noritoshi Kamo starts to experiment with this idea. This child, as well as the idea of combining cursed spirits and humans together, almost to kind of create this superior being. And if you kind of pay attention closely, we do know that there are multiple references that the death wound paintings are the, Choso and Eso and Kechizu. They're not fully cursed spirit. We have multiple times where the kind of Gojo refers to them saying, wait, there's something off about him. And even I think a couple of times the first years kind of mentioned, wait, that's not just a full cursed spirit. They have a human element as well. And even when the characters pass away, they show this kind of human emotion, right? All records on how this happened and what happened to the girl would be destroyed. So we can kind of surmise that we don't know what happened to Noritoshi Kamo. All these kind of things happened under mysterious circumstances, and as it stands, Noritoshi Kamo might be still alive, but they kind of refer to this incident as something that happened kind of way back, and even if Noritoshi Kamo were still alive, he would be very old, right? But wait. What is it that the Geto says in chapter 90? This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The ability to switch between bodies by switching a brain from body to body. The kind of almost like inspired by Orochimaru, the immortality, kind of a little bit different from Tengen. Although we don't know too much about Tengen, but theoretically, this Jutsushiki could possibly lend itself to switch between bodies, a body kind of obviously decaying over time, but if you can keep the body, the brain healthy and just switch bodies, theoretically you could stay alive for as long as you have a new body. And let us remember that Noritoshi Kamo, both the one we're talking about in this video, as well as the Kyoto third year, the Kamo family is notorious for their blood manipulation. Blood manipulation, brains switching between bodies. Perhaps the most evil sorcerer, Noritoshi Kamo, figured out a way to utilize this blood manipulation where he can switch a brain from a body to body, manipulate the blood in the body to keep a healthy brain. Now, I definitely want to kind of address the fact that, well, how do you know that it's even a Jujutsu sorcerer that's inside Geto's body right now? It could be another special grade cursed spirit. And at first glance, I kind of did think so as well, kind of judging by the appearance and things like that. But let us remember that Geto, the new Geto, I'm going to call it Stitch Geto to keep things easy. Stitch Geto on multiple times has kind of expressed a distaste for cursed spirits. Now, why would a cursed spirit utter such words, right? So that kind of does lend itself to the theory that it is indeed something that is not a cursed spirit, a human, and most likely a Jujutsu sorcerer. Also, at the time of chapter 60, where they show the photo of Noritoshi Kamo, he's holding an umbrella, and suspiciously, the umbrella casts a shadow on the top half of his head. At the time, it just kind of seemed like a creative design choice to kind of show him as something mysterious, but what we know now, considering the stitches and the switching of the brain, perhaps that shadow was very intentional in covering up stitches in his head. Now, why would the original Noritoshi Kamo have those stitches in his head? It's kind of hard to say, but given Noritoshi Kamo's kind of affinity for experimentation, he might have already experimented on his own brain a little bit. Who knows? But just kind of food for thought. Maybe another reason to believe that it is indeed Noritoshi Kamo. Now, I'm just going to refer to this character as Kamo Sr., okay, just to make things easier. So Kamo Sr. is the one who facilitated the Death Room paintings to be retrieved from Jujutsu High and to be reborn at the Yasuhachi arc, and which kind of kicked off the Yasuhachi Bridge arc. So this Stitch Geto does sort of have a affinity, kind of a soft spot for these Death Room paintings. And if we are to believe that it is Kamo Sr., that would totally make sense as well. To even further emphasize this point, after the Yasuhachi Bridge arc, when Eso and Kechizu are killed, we see Stitch Geto as well as Mahito and Choso playing a game of, looks like a game of life, a board game. And as soon as they're killed, Choso points out, "My younger brothers are dead." Now, Stitch Geto kind of reacts. At the time, it didn't really seem too weird, but now if we are to assume that it is Kamo Sr., after he hears the news that both Eso and Kechizu are dead, he says, "How do you know that?" He almost shows this kind of interest, saying, "Ooh, how do you know that your brothers are dead? Is there some sort of communication?" It's almost kind of a reaction of someone who's very interested in the inner workings of how something like that would work. Again, very much in line with what someone like Kamo Sr. would say. It's not like, "Oh my god, that's terrible," or anything like that. Although he has a soft spot for them, he's kind of more interested in the intellectual kind of connection and kind of like a experiment, right? So these are just a few points about what might suggest that this is indeed Kamo Sr. and to support my theory. But let's also kind of explore what this might entail for the future of the series. Now, what is Kamo Sr.'s kind of objective? In Chapter 90, when he uses Prison Realm, he specifically says, "We'll see you in the new world." So this Stitch Geto, or who we can assume to be Kamo Sr., is perhaps trying to create a new world where both cursed spirits and humans are almost kind of living in the same world. He's very interested, obviously, in the idea of combining cursed spirit DNA with human DNA. So perhaps this is the new vision of the world that he sees. And especially now that he has Geto's powers, he would be an extremely, extremely powerful entity in such a world. Now, I want everyone to remember a character that we saw very briefly and was only mentioned a couple times, but perhaps knowing what we know now with this theory could indeed be an extremely important character. Now, if you'll remember in chapter 53, we see Geto as well as Mahito and Jogo and Hanami kind of lounging on the beach. Do you remember the white-haired monk? Now, this white-haired monk kind of referred to, in terms of gender, people aren't sure whether they're a boy or girl, kind of almost non-binary. But beyond that, we don't really know much about who this person is. However, they're wearing a robe very similar to Geto. Now, this very much suggests a connection between Stitch Geto and white-haired monk. Perhaps this is another one of Kamo Sr.'s experiments. Now, we can't be too sure about this, but certainly it would suggest kind of an experimental nature. This person seems very docile, kind of in the one frame that we see them. So it's hard to say at this point, but at least it kind of brings up an interesting point in terms of this theory that there is some sort of connection and this person is going to kind of play a important role in future events. Perhaps we'll even see them in the Shibuya arc. Ever since the introduction, we haven't seen the white-haired monk, plus also the water special grade cursed spirit, right? The one that kind of looks like a squid. And to keep on going on the subject of what may happen for the Geto fans out there, I have a feeling that Geto might be back. Now, obviously, Geto has played an extremely significant role in the series so far. If we're even leaving out Volume 0, the importance that they've had kind of in the flashback arc in terms of the relationship between Gojo and Geto. So it's almost a little hard to believe that Akutami Sensei, although we don't know, Akutami Sensei is very quick to just dismiss characters just like that. But to build up this character so much, and obviously it created a very dramatic effect when we found out that it was not indeed Geto anymore. It's kind of hard for me to believe that Geto will not be back in some form. He's obviously a very powerful jutsu sorcerer, and perhaps now that we know that the body is still being sort of kept alive, perhaps there is going to be a way that this is manipulated, that Geto will one day retrieve his body. And if he does come back, I have a feeling, this is kind of my big hope, that Geto will be back and he'll be fighting for the good guys. How amazing would that be? We have Gojo and Geto fighting alongside Megumi and Yuji, the strongest and the strongest. God, that's just, I don't know, it's just wishful thinking, but who knows? I mean, let's be honest. This is still very much early in the series. If we're talking about volumes, we're still only about 10 volumes in at this point as far as the weekly releases. So it's still very young, and it's kind of hard to believe that this character Geto is not going to be back in his true form someday. But I've done enough talking for today. I could go on and on and on about this. I'm sure there's a lot of things that I kind of left out as well, and that's where I want you guys to kind of pitch in. I'm standing firm on this theory that perhaps this is Noritoshi Kamo, the most evil sorcerer ever, inhabiting Geto's body right now. And if you agree or if you disagree, let me know. Let me know, and definitely I'm more than happy to kind of discuss this stuff. This is really kind of the nitty gritty, and for us manga fans, this is just eat it up, you know, just real good stuff. So I hope you like what I'm doing here, the Translator Theories series. This is really fun, and definitely when I talk about this kind of stuff, obviously I'm a translator, but I'm definitely a fan first. It's just kind of the exposure to the series kind of maybe allows me to have a little bit of a different insight. But I'm more than happy. I know there's people out there that are even bigger fans of this series than me. I'm not going to claim to be a #1 fan or anything like that. But I want to definitely hear what you guys have to say. And I do thank you for watching the video. And if you like this kind of stuff, let me know with your likes and comments, and you'll have to allow me to do my spiel here. I know you guys are tired of hearing about this, but thanks for the support. I really do appreciate it, and it kind of allows me to tune my content to what people really want to hear. Obviously, I'm still going to do whatever the hell I want anyways. But perhaps it will kind of lend itself to some good suggestions for the future, and kind of talk about things that you guys might want to hear. But with that, let me say cheers. We got Yuji and Gojo here saying thank you. And we will see you in the next video. Definitely do check out my Volume 2 review in English. I was lucky enough to get an early release. Also, I'm doing kind of weekly coverage of Jujutsu Kaisen manga as well, and have a whole bunch of other good stuff on the channel. So if you do enjoy, take a look, and I appreciate any support. All right, with that, you know how we do. Mata yoroshiku! Ryoiki Tenkai!